Founder of TCM Holdings, Jessica Zwennes is a young woman entrepreneur. TCM Holdings provides consultancy services to African entrepreneurs across the continent. For the past few years, Jessica Zwennes has been committed to improving the efficiency of African entrepreneurs through advice aimed at developing their businesses and optimizing their revenues. She calls herself a business therapist for her ability to provide solutions to entrepreneurial problems in Africa.
I think that's an interesting question because in general, when people ask this question of female entrepreneurs and female leaders and actually women in the corporate sector, this is a very tricky thing to say diplomatically, but I always ask why people ask this question of women rather than men. We balance life, or I balance life the same way a man in my field will balance it. Doing what I can and the best I can in the moments that require me to assume those roles. Obviously, there are some challenges with being a female entrepreneur, but I don't think that they set us apart from our male counterparts. And I think the narrative needs to be changed in terms of how we talk about it. If it's the question that would be asked of my male counterparts, then of course I'm happy to answer it. Otherwise, the answers are just the same. We do the best we can. Much like my heritage, I've worked in a range of industries. I started out in the events sector in London, working more so on the formulation of the programs of events much like this. I moved back to the continent actually at the beginning of COVID by accident. I happened to be on the continent when the pandemic occurred, and I ended up, much like everybody else, being stuck at home with very little understanding or knowledge of what the future holds. That's what led me to turning my side hustle, which was consulting for friends' businesses, into kind of my main bread and butter. And that's what slowly led me back to the financial industries and advisory sector. Because of my varied background in the different industries with events, it's given me an added perspective when it comes to dealing with entrepreneurs on the continent, because I can speak to both what they need, right, but also what their audiences perceive from them and why they need to interact in a manner that is most efficient and beneficial for all the parties involved. So I don't have any of the answers, nor do I profess to. I can only speak to my own experience. I think having a good support system and having people that believe in you is very crucial to ensuring your success and continued efforts in your respective fields. The number of times I've had clients who just need me to say, you can do it, or just need me to give them the support and the advice in that moment. I cannot count it. Support is important. Positive reinforcement is extremely important as well, and constructive criticism. I think we are on the continent where people tend to criticize without thinking about the impact their critique would have. It's always supposed to serve to help you grow and not to bring you down. I would say that I face difficulties as an entrepreneur as a whole. I would speak to that. I don't think my difficulties are specific to my gender, because I think that's a completely different conversation. But as an entrepreneur, the difficulties I face are similar to the answer I gave before in terms of not having the adequate support in order to achieve the things that I would like to achieve. This is why organizations and institutions like Affection Bank are essential to our ecosystem, because they do a great job of identifying a gap or a problem in the market and then creating a product to solve that problem. And they do it quite efficiently, and I know that there is a narrative around having these kind of events and having these conversations, but these conversations are essential because identifying the problem is halfway to the solution. I believe that the woman in the society is unequal. And when I say equal, I don't mean it in terms of we are the same as our male counterparts, because that would be an erroneous statement to make. I mean that we deserve the same amount of respect and attention and resources as our male counterparts get, right? We all bring different things to the table, but the conversation around equality should be focused on the fact that the value that each party brings should be the same. It should be seen the same way. A woman choosing to stay at home and focus on her family and be a resource to her family is just as important and just as valued as a career woman choosing to go up the corporate ladder and impact her society in that way. And as is a man, the idea is not one is better than the other, but we're all contributing to a successful society and a successful continent as a whole. We represent 50% of the continent, right? Give or take a few. Don't quote me on that. But women we see consistently, there are loads of studies that show that women are the center of commerce. We have our market women who support commerce and the economy. Women are literally the ways, if you want to train a village, you train a woman. And we see this, in our practice, we also see it in our narratives. All cultures are all based on a woman. Everybody has a mother. So that is the quintessential reason alone to support women and make sure that they have a seat at the table. I think Mia Motley said it earlier in the conference that if you don't have a seat at the table, you should bring it yourself. I would like to say 100%. But I think for now we should just be focused on 50-50. The narrative now in regards to the feminist movement seems to have been turned on its head, because people would like to phrase it as women should be more than men. But I think we should just be focused on equality, on a 50-50 split. I'm happy with 50-50, because right now we have a lot less than 50%. I think we have to lead by example. The more organizations prioritize having women at the table, having women in positions of power, the more other young women can see that they have role models. I'm lucky to be surrounded in an industry of people like Madam Kanayo Awani, who've kind of trailblazed that area. So we can now see women in positions of power, and you can see yourself ascending up that ladder. I think that was illustrated by things like seeing our first American black president, right? Now you inspire the young black child that they too can come to a position of power in their ecosystem. And I think that's the biggest thing, to lead by example. And the only way you can lead by example is if you have examples and if you actively seek to put them on the map. I think the message I would like to pass to women entrepreneurs, women leaders, and in general, people on the continent as a whole, because I am careful that our message is not just gender bias, is that you can do it. It's 3 simple words, but it goes the longest way, because you can do it. 4, sorry.